Okay guys, we're going to get started just now. That includes the front row.
There's always a comedian at the start, isn't there?
So good afternoon all, and welcome to this workshop on developing leadership, best practice across Europe, young people and disability. My name's Cameron Smith and I work for the Scottish Commission for People with Learning Disabilities, and I'm going to be chairing today's session. I did have some health and safety announcements in, but you've obviously been told them already, so there's a health and safety get out of the building. And remember to use hashtags on Twitter as well, if you're going to be tweeting during this session today as well. So today you will hear two presentations, one from Elaine Crichton, who's standing up, and one from Sandy Stark, who's here. Elaine works for Inspiring Scotland, and Sandy does a lot of other things, but he will explain that in his presentation today as well. So there will be time for question and answers after each presentation. So we're going to get started. I'm going to hand over.
At the end?
At the end, yes.
Yeah.
I did have an at the end, but I forgot to read it. So we're going to get started with Elaine.
Okay, right, so looks like I'm in charge, which is a bit dangerous. Mostly for me, actually. Do you know, I'm going to do this thing and get glasses on, glasses off. Is anyone else at that stage? Thank you. I've got sympathy in the room. Yeah, because I can see that, but I'm not sure I can see this. So anyway, it's a pleasure for me to be here. And I feel actually really quite humbled having heard all the presentations this morning, actually. And all I'm coming to tell you about is my favourite subject, which is our future leaders, which I've been involved in from the very beginning. And I just love it, and I want to share it with you. So our Future Leaders is a course that we co-developed at Inspiring Scotland with the help of SCLD, because we felt that there was a gap for courses that were meaningful for people with learning disabilities or intellectual disabilities. But we wanted to be careful about how we went about that, actually. So I talked to a lot of people. I do talk a lot. So I talked a lot to a lot of people, and just to try to get a sense. So there was consensus that there was a gap, and that it had to be meaningful as well, and that there shouldn't be any cost. We should try and get remove as many barriers as possible to people with learning disabilities or lived experience participating in the course. So that's what we did. So I had a very quiet pilot with 12 actually, very brave people. I was completely under the radar, and it was really successful. And actually all through that pilot, we listened to the participants and what they liked and what they didn't like. And I think that's made it now the really successful course it is. At the moment, we are on OFL, that's my shorthand, OFL 4. Just about to finish that one. So as I said, I think it's unique. I haven't come across anything that is like this. Co-developed, as I said, between SCLD and Inspiring Scotland. I did say as well it's participant-led, but it really is. I'll maybe, if I remember, talk about that a little bit later. We do have external presenters, as well as we have people with lived experience who present. A lot of ex-graduates, a growing number of ex-graduates are coming. It's getting quite competitive to get a slot in one of the sessions. So that's great. But I would say, and this is not a given, but all the external presenters, they really get learning disabilities. I didn't know whether to leave get in the presentation or not, but they really do. They really understand, and they love it. And a lot of them give their time for free. I didn't even ask them to do that well, I did, but not straight away. I asked them if they'd like to be involved, and then sort of got them on the hook, and then said, you couldn't possibly do this for a reduced rate or nothing. And a lot of them do it for nothing because they really get so much out of it, actually. And that comes through, as you can imagine, in all the sessions. So far, we've done it all on Zoom, which I've put there makes it geographically accessible, because obviously if it's on Zoom, it's maybe not necessarily accessible to everyone, but certainly the geographic accessibility is really important. So it's not just something that's offered in the Central Belt. We have people out with the Central Belt in Scotland, so they're included in this as well. The sponsor is a key element because we wanted to give support. Support's the thing that you hear a lot about people with lived experience. You know, they could do this, but they maybe needed a little bit of support to start with, or they needed a little bit of continued support. So we knew that that was a key element, so we invented this sponsor role. The most difficult thing about a sponsor is that you have to be quiet during the sessions. You've got to be silent. I'm a sponsor this time. I was a sponsor last time. I find that really difficult. But anyway, the sponsors have a really, really important role to play because they are taking the knowledge that's imparted in the sessions and embedding it in the participants' their life. So how does this translate to what you're doing on a daily basis in your life? Lots of unique features, I think, about this course. So we actually don't limit it to 10. We have spaces for 12 people, which is just about enough, actually, because we don't want anyone to kind of be a shrinking violet. We want everyone to, contribute, and that seems to be a good size. It is a competitive, I don't know if it's not aggressively competitive, but there's an application form that whoever might be interested in this course would have to fill in. And then there's an informal interview with either myself or one of my colleagues from SCLD, talking to the participant about why they want to do the course, what they're looking to get out of it, and the sponsors involved in that interview process as well, because they need to know really early on what it is that the person that they're supporting is looking to get, and remember that as well, and keep that at the forefront of their mind. There's 2 facilitators at every session, so there's a person that's delivering the session, whatever it might be, and then there's 2 facilitators because that forms part of our evaluation, if you like. So the facilitators are there to note the subtle changes that happen throughout the sessions. And there's always a light bulb moment, but it's never all in the one session. And believe it or not, we have a finance session, and the light bulb sometimes goes on that session. Who knew? I didn't before we started this. All the sessions are on Zoom, as I said before, and they're recorded, which means that if people feel that they've missed a bit or they want to listen to something again, there is that opportunity to do so. There was one on Tuesday. I was flying over here, so I'm going to have to listen to Tuesdays on Zoom. So that will be, I'm really looking forward to that. It was on mindfulness. So as I said before, each participant has a sponsor, silent observer, who take notes and try and embed the learning and make it specific to the participant on the course. Very important. The graduates of each course can support and contribute to subsequent courses. We're getting that a lot. I'm actually getting them involved in lots of other things as well. But that's really, really important that they're part of that. And I've got my eye on a couple of ex-graduates that I think might make good sponsors for participants in future courses. So there's a learning log that accompanies every single session. So they have to rate with emojis whether they liked the course or not. So thumbs up, thumbs down, what didn't you like? What could we, i.e. the facilitators, do better? And then the silent supporter also gets to put on the form what they thought could be done better or their thoughts about the session. We get a huge amount of feedback from that. I read every single one of these logs, and I love it when there's negative criticism, because that's great, because that means I can go and change something. And they're full of great ideas, actually. Now, this is the bit the participants don't like. They have to do a bit of homework. Right. Now, I'm going to show you a video later. I think they mention homework, and they groan a bit, and then they smile, because they probably knew I was going to be watching the video. So there is homework, but that's to embed the learning. But it's all easy read, and again, the sponsor is there to help with the homework. This is just a little. How many pictures are out there of people on Zoom screens? But that's what we look like every second Tuesday from 9:30 till 12. There's a leaflet that is outside which actually tells you exactly what the different sessions are, but there's 12 of them. There's 4 around that: personal leadership and leadership techniques and styles. That's delivered by an external leadership trainer who works with corporates, actually has been working with corporates for over 30 years. She loves this. She cries at the graduation when she comes along. She can't help herself. But she's really insightful on different leadership techniques. So being true to yourself. So she doesn't say to be a leader you have to be X, Y, and Z. She coaches and builds from what sort of a leader do you want to be. It needs to sit well with you, the sort of leader that you are. Stress busting, I mentioned that before. That's what happened yesterday morning that I missed. Mindfulness. Understanding financials, I talked about that. We get a senior audit manager from a firm in Glasgow to present on that. And she loves it. It's much less boring than her day job. We have got leadership in the virtual world, which is all about social media. That's the next session we have up. And at that session, all the participants make an animation about the course. So again, they like that. We've got an important one on employability skills and interview techniques. So we have a good cop and a bad cop in that. So we've got bad interview, good interview, and lots of other help around, the whole interviewing or process. And then a new one, session that we've brought in is on activism and campaigning. Again, that was in response to feedback that we got. There's other things missing as well. There's a whole list of things that I'd love to introduce, but I want to make sure that I'm introducing them with the right resources and things as well to support. We did have the course evaluated after that very sort of like under the wire, quiet pilot. It was independently evaluated by a student at Glasgow University. It was a really difficult job for her to do the evaluation, actually, because she didn't have anything to look at, nothing to touch, nothing to feel. She had to listen to Zoom recordings. It's quite difficult. It was really difficult. But she did a really good job, and it was independent, but her conclusion was that this course was delivering all on the outcomes, which is basically just all about self-confidence, self-worth, self-determination. This one's kind of similar, but with the outcomes, I've then got a real live quote off to the right. So that's from past participants. So I love that one about making lifelong friends. Do you know what? Everyone has fun in these sessions, because it is serious, but we also have fun as well. I keep an eye on the chat. And there's little jokes and things going on in the chat, and you're kind of like, pay attention, but it's fine. They love it. I love it. It makes it all worthwhile, actually. Now, so there's John, or JP, with his certificate off to the right there. He had a lot of fun. He was a real live wire with his certificate. It was great. Now, if the technology works, I'll be able to show you a film which has got ex-graduates and their reflections of the course. I think it's just over 3 minutes, so bear with me. You've got 4 different people talking. So we've got a go.
You click down on it?
No, I think it's... Do I need to click, or should you click there? All right. Thank you.
The things I learned about being a leader through the course was you've got to make sure everybody is behind you and is supporting you throughout the decisions. Also, that don't always go me. Think bigger, and don't ever forget that there is no I in team. That being a leader is all being part of a team.
I think it's just a perfect course to be on, to develop your leadership skills. It's nice and easy as well. Just getting ideas from the rest of the leaders as well, because we could learn from each other as well and get different tips.
Course has helped me to come a leader, to really stand up for myself and to be a future leader, and just how to get better services for folk with learning disabilities for myself here in work, and also it's helped me in a mental welfare job that just started.
My life has been better since I've done the course because I'm actually going to be doing another course on top of it, and it's got my confidence is really been good.
With this leadership course, you had a supporter with you all the time. If you felt anxious or nervous, or you something you've missed out, you could speak to your supporter about it, and how you felt doing the course as well. And that was really important to me.
Having a sponsor really helps me because there was a couple of times that I wasn't wanting stuff right or I didn't know how to answer it. Sponsor could step in and help me.
My sponsor tried to get me to talk about what I should be talking about instead of hiding in information, and she tried to bring the best to us.
The homework that we had to do was quite long, but apart from that, and I'm aware that was addressed in this session, that on this course that's now got less paperwork to do, so which was good.
You just rely on that support, that if you do get stuck, you've got your supporter with you. Also, you have the choice of what supporter you wanted to support you.
Since graduating, the course has helped me develop things further on in some organisations I'm part of, and really it's helped me gain the leadership skills that I was missing.
It's made a huge difference to me. It really has. I'm so glad that I did it because I want to hopefully create a group in the future for people with disabilities. And that's really important to me, to transfer my skills to other groups and organisations, what they can learn from me.
It's brought the best out of me, and it's actually got my confidence up.
If anyone watching this video, don't be afraid to sign up for the next cohort or course, you won't regret it.
Oh, that just makes me feel so proud. They're all like my babies. But I don't mean that in any condescending way. John on the video there, he was part of so he's an ex-graduate, so he was part of the mindfulness session. He delivered laughter yoga. And when he starts laughing, the whole world laughs with him, honestly. He's just fantastic. And the one thing about all of those little video snippets, they were done with one take. I couldn't do it in one take. I'd be making all sorts of a mess, but they just love it. And I'm really proud to be part of it. So thank you for letting me share. And I think now it's over to Cameron and Sandy.
Perfect.
And Andy.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Do you want me to click the clicker? No? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think I'm on. Yeah. So thanks so much, Elaine, for that.
Big shoes to fill there, Big shoes to fill.
No, thank you very much, Elaine. I've spoken at two of the courses twice, and it's been absolutely fantastic. This might come up in questions later on, but I'm just going to tell you right now. Next course starts in January 2023, I think. Is it? February 2023. So 1st of February. So anyone from Scotland can join.
Well, it's all on Zoom, so anyone from anywhere could join.
Yeah.
This could be for Q&A, Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. But as Elaine said, we've got a poster out there, so come and speak to us afterwards as well.
You've just stole other people's bloody questions, man.
Now we've got the person that can't be quiet for 2 minutes while we'll do my tune remarks. No, we've got Sandy Stark and my colleague Andy Miller, who is going to do an interview style presentation. So I'm going to hand over to you guys now.
Yes. So good afternoon, everyone, and it's wonderful that we've got everyone here today, and it's just absolutely amazing. As I said, I've got big shoes to fill, but I think we'll get there. But I'm going to be speaking to you today about my leadership and just the confidence in where I've got today, and I think with all the presentations that we've had out through the morning, it's just been absolutely incredible. So I'm just so glad to be part of this, and it's just great to be here.
And as Cameron said, my name's Andy Miller. I'm going to be asking Sandy a few questions, and he's going to be telling you about himself and the different leadership roles that he has taken on in his life, especially in his work with the Scottish Commission for People with Learning Disabilities. So, Sandy, do you want to just start with talking about how you first got involved with SCLD?
The way I got involved with the SALD was through the Young Scotland's Got Talent in 2013, and this is where the SALD went out on the road, and they found people with a learning disability, and it was like a catwalk, and I was like, walking up the catwalk, I can't do that, and I was employed at this point through an organisation in Scotland. VSA Voluntary Services Aberdeen, and I got the opportunity through Aberdeen College at the time to go along to this Young Scotland's Got Talent and express my greatness of just being employed, you know, because for people with a learning disability, it's very, very hard for people to be employed, and I think just hearing, you know, my experience of for people to try and get into employment, I think it's a great way. So that's how it all just sort of kicked off for me, really.
And that sounds like an amazing event, the Young Scotland's Got Talent. Tell us a bit more about that. Who went to it, and who was it that got to walk up the catwalk?
It was myself that got to walk up the catwalk, no, it was really good, and it was through the SCLD again, you know, and that's just kind of grown, you know, arms and legs for me really since then. You know, we've had the pandemic and things like that as well.
Yeah, the pandemic changed everything, really, didn't it?
Yes.
Tell us how it changed things for you and other people you know.
Well, for me, it was great, really, because I got to work furthermore with the SALD and get involved in workshops to do with the government and things like that. So I was putting my point of views across of what challenges I was facing. So the government aren't just ticking boxes. Basically now, they have to listen to the people that have got the lived experience, and I think that's working out really, really well now because of the pandemic. You know, because people that have got the lived experience and a learning disability were away down here now, but now, because the government are starting to listen to us and whatnot, and including us in everything now, instead of being at the bottom, we're going to go right to the top.
Tell us a bit more about how the pandemic contributed to that, because obviously it was a terrible time for a lot of people, but it also did provide opportunities for yourself and others.
Yeah, I mean, this was all done through Zoom and everything, and the opportunities is it's given me, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here and being part of, you know, this great 2 days of being leadership and telling my stories if it wasn't for, you know, the pandemic. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about another program I'm involved in at the end of my my presentation today, and it's going to be Include for Good.
Before we go on to Include for Good, just tell us a bit more about the Stay in Touch page and the particular role you had on that.
Yeah, the Stay in Touch page through the SALD, I don't know whose idea was to make a private group on Facebook called Stay in Touch, and the SALD obviously had my name in a back burner, and I just got a notification on Facebook. Would you like to be part of this group? Stay in touch. So I obviously just accepted it, and then the page just kind of grew and grew. Every single day there was different activities, and it was a way of people connecting with each other, and staying connected, through the pandemic, because it was really, really tough for people with learning disabilities, through the pandemic, because nobody knew what was going to happen, when the government said we had to stay at home. So obviously that was going to be even tougher with somebody for someone with a learning disability. So there was different activities every single day, and then the page just kind of grew more and more, with more people joining the Stay in Touch page. And then after that, there was just more leadership coming from the members that were part of the page. So members were coming, putting a message in and saying, can I do my own activity in that? And it was taking people out their comfort zone as well, and you were meeting new friends and things like that. So it was really good.
So don't be shy, Sandy. Everyone got the chance to make their own contribution on this virtual page, and what was yours?
Being a DJ, basically. Because obviously when the pandemic hit, your DJing stopped. So I was like, I did a lot of research and whatnot, and I was like, oh, I can plug my computer in. I've got music on my computer. I'll bring my I'll bring my DJing sets online, and it was just absolutely fantastic that I could bring this online, because it just didn't bring the people that were part of the page. It brought the staff together, and I just didn't realise how kind music was to people, and it just it made people feel like that there wasn't a pandemic there. And I think that's really, really important for people with learning disabilities. If you can just try and take something away, even if it's just for half an hour or an hour, it's amazing what music can do for people.
It's the importance of connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so more recently, you've been involved in quite a lot of work to do with human rights.
Yes. I was involved through the SALD, again, the Human Rights Town app. You can download this on your phone through Google Play or the App Store. And it was a group of people with lived experience, and we got told about human rights. So I think there's 26 scenarios on the Human Rights Town app, and after we got told a little bit more about the human rights, we got the opportunity. How do we get people, with learning disabilities to understand about their human rights? Because I think at the end of the day, everyone's got human rights, but it's harder for someone with a learning disability to understand what a human right is. And at the end of the day, we've all got to be respected. At the end of the day, people with a learning disability can't be walked all over, basically. So we came up with the idea of making a human rights town app, and we made this really, really inclusive. So there was some of the group made up the 26 scenarios, and then the other group done voiceovers of the scenarios. So once the scenarios were up and going, there was some of the group did some of the voiceovers. And if you download it today, I'm actually one of the people that done the voiceover. So if you're not fed up with hearing my voice today, you can basically go and download it and hear it all over again. But since then, the Scottish government has came along and asked the SALD if they would like to be involved in be involved in the human rights lived experience board, and and I'm obviously part of that, as you can see in the photo. Where we're down in Edinburgh about three weeks ago now, and there was somebody from government there. That was the first time that we've been all together in the one room, because it was all done on Zoom and whatnot. But I think it's really, really important that for people with the lived experience to have the opportunity to speak to government and tell them what is actually going wrong for people with learning disabilities to do with their human rights, because the scenario that I keep giving people is there is justice for human rights, but for someone with a learning disability, when you say justice, they automatically think of the police. So it's a way of us being part of, the lived experience board to come up with a different scenario on how we can make it more inclusive for people with learning disabilities.
And just to expand on that a little bit, tell us what's the connection then between this group, the Lived Experience Board, and the Scottish Government? Why did they pay for this group to come together and spend time together?
Just because they wanted people with the lived experience to change the way the government think about human rights, and basically take all the jargon out of all the different words that are maybe very, very complicated, because everyone round that table, as you can see in the photo, we've all got different disabilities, so we're all going to think differently. But if we're all going to think differently, that's obviously going to change the government's way of thinking in getting the human rights right for people with for a learning disability.
And just for anyone that isn't aware, that in Scotland, the Scottish Government are in the middle of putting the United Nations Convention for the Rights of People people with Disabilities into law, into Scottish law.
Yes.
And this group's helping with that.
Yep. We're basically at the forefront of all what the Scottish Government are asking us to do. We're at the forefront of this in making this happen. This isn't just going to be, it might happen, it is going to happen. Because as I said earlier on as well, we're taking everyone that's got a learning disability right up to the top now, and we're making everybody inclusive, and it's really, really important that we're not back in 2001 anymore. It's 2022, and it's time to work together.
Okay, so you've not been very busy then?
Oh, very busy.
But there's even more.
Yes,
there's even more. Tell us about Include for Good.
Include for Good is run by SALD again, fully funded by SALD's board. The board had a vision, but they needed people with the lived experience to come up with a challenge and come up for a name for this programme. And I'm one of the rapporteurs for Include for Good, and what their job is to do is to hold policymakers and everything to account. So they're not just ticking boxes now, they're and we're not going to any other meetings or anything like that. So I'm not going to someone else's meeting and giving my view. They're going to come to us. We're going to, hold them to account, because we need to be making Scotland more inclusive for people with learning disabilities, and we all need to be included when policies are getting rebranded.
And two things maybe just to pull out of that about the Include for Good programme. One is it's paid work, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely paid work. So there's, there isn't just a token maybe for Boots or Amazon or anything like that. This is, this is money that's going into our bank account, and the good thing about that is as well, SALD got a trusted advisor to work alongside you if you've got any benefits and things like that, because a lot of people think because you're on benefits, oh, I can't work, because they're fear they'll lose their benefit. But the good thing is, SALD had this vision that if you wanted to become a rapporteur, we want to pay you for your work, and it's absolutely amazing. Some of the rapporteurs that I work with, there's 9 of us, and one of them's actually paid for their own holiday, and she's never ever had that opportunity before, because she hasn't had that money coming into her own, our own bank, and I think that's just absolutely amazing for somebody that's had their first wage on, for themselves, really.
And the other thing just to stress is that the Include for Good programme is properly co-produced. So the rapporteurs themselves plan what they're going to do. They're not told by SALD staff.
No, we've got an Include for a Good programme lead. So the 9 rapporteurs tell the programme lead that our vision, what we need to change, will change. It'll just take a little bit more time, because the programme lead's got nothing to do with it unless we put the time and effort into it, really. So basically, when Jeannie first started with us, she didn't have much grey hair now, but I'm telling you, she certainly has it now. After working with the rapporteurs, but it's absolutely amazing. Just to have that vision, and we've all got this. We've all got this vision that we want to make Scotland more inclusive, but it just takes us a little bit longer, because we're all not just we're all different, and we've got a different way of processing information and that, and you've just got to give everyone time, but we're all going to reach the same goal. And I think that's what this whole 2 days is, everyone coming together and networking and whatnot. So I think that's about it.
All right, Sandy, thanks very much. You've obviously got leadership coming out your ears.
Thank you. Thank you.
You did mention it, but just to reinforce that a lot of these bits of work that you talked about, the Include for Good programme, the Lived Experience Board, and the what else? The Our Future Leaders programme that Elaine talked about. They're all posters outside. If you haven't already seen them, go and have a look and find out more about the programme there. Thanks very much, Sandy.
I think it's Q&A time.
Q&A time, I think it is.
So thank you so. Oh, don't know what no. That is not. So thanks so much, Sandy and Andy, for that wonderful presentation. As Andy said, there is posters out in the hallway, so come and speak to us afterwards as well. We've got about 15 minutes for Q&A time. I don't know how this is going to work. Are you going to run round with them?
Yeah, I've got a microphone here. I've got
Yes.
a second microphone here, which Elaine's going to have.
Yep. So if there's any questions, put your hand up and we'll come microphone for you.
Okay.
And it's just going in the back there, so it's easier. Stunned.
Right, hang on.
What, somebody at the front?
Oh,
Elaine?
yeah. That's okay. We've got one at the front first, and then we'll do the one at the back second. Yep.
This was just a quick question for Sandy. I can
Okay.
officially say I was not bored of hearing your voice. You're very inspirational. And this is more of a question, are you open to talking gigs? Because I have some wonderful adults that I work with that I think need to listen to you, because I think that you have many ideas, and I think that you would really put the fire up there.
Yes.
Their behinds.
I mean, you know, I'm learning so much that, you know, this is only day one. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of us all take a lot away from these two days, and that's what I would be kind of hoping to do anyway, is you know, help people in Scotland.
Well, I work in Ireland, and I'd like you to speak to some of the guys I work with. So if you're interested, if you'd give me your contact details, so I can link in with you.
Perfect. Yes.
We can link you in through SLD as well. Yeah.
Make sure you get the right price there, Sandy. Sandy, it was a pleasure meeting you last night in the bar and hearing you today. You're extremely motivating us all here and inspiring to us all. I just wondered, just in a basic question, what age group are the people that are involved in Include for Good? That's my first question. And the second one is, how difficult is it to keep people motivated and to keep being part of your group? Because I know in the past I've been involved in advocacy in different groups, and it is hard to keep people's motivation up. So first question is, what age group? And second is, how do you keep people motivated?
My first first one to your answer was, it's all different age groups. So we have got somebody that's 19, we have got someone that's 35, so it's all different age groups. And you know, I think it took us a very, very long time to kind of gel, really, because you know, the vision came, you know, SALD gave us, you know, the opportunity to come up with the name for the programme and everything like that. So SALD had nothing to do with it, really. They were just the co-funders for this programme, really. So it really took us a long time to get where we are today, and it only started at the start of January. So we're really just getting there now, and it's a 2-year programme.
Thanks very much.
It's okay.
Great. Anyone else with any questions? Stick your hand up and we'll get a microphone to you. Oh, Elaine. Oh, I don't know. Andy's at the back, so you can't get through, so.
I was just wondering, really, in terms of our Future Leaders course, what selection criteria, because you mentioned the competition piece there, so I'm just wondering what the selection criteria are.
Well, oh, I think this one will still be on. Yeah. So it's a very simple application form. So name, address, why do you want to become a future leader, and then a little bit about yourself. You know, what do you do now? What are your hobbies and things? But most of the interviewing, if you like, or thinking, right, there's something here, and our Futures Leaders course will be incremental and might be that spark for that participant comes in that informal interview. Yeah, and then we try to get a selection of people as well, which is what Sandy was talking about as well, because that's a kind of one of the unexpected side effects, because you bring people together who don't know one another, and we're careful to do that. So it's not all going to be, 12 people from one organisation. That would not work, and from different parts of the countryside as well. So that's a really important. So we think about all of these different dynamics in the selection process, but I guess fundamentally it comes down to them presenting the best version of themselves and why they want to do it. And if they say they want to have fun, they get an extra half point from me.
I suppose it's just been given the opportunity, and just kind of going for it. Really, you know, for people to come out their comfort zone.
Yeah, and I didn't mention it in the presentation, but there's so many things that the guys who've done the course already have gone on to do. It has really just been a spark, not just joining rapporteurs, but we've had someone who gave up a paid job because she wants to go back to college to train to be a teaching assistant to help kids with ASN. We've got people go into jobs, we've had people go on to boards, we've got someone who joined the Mental Health Commission. My best one is Brian, who's going on a week. He was from the Borders and he was that way. So he's plucked up the courage to go on a weekend training course, and he's got a girlfriend. He phoned me up and he said, "You'll never guess what." And I was like, "Whoa." Got a girlfriend. So, I mean, all that's great. I just love all of that.
I think, Andy, were you going to say something around it?
I was just going to add something to what Elaine was saying, and just bears out what you were saying, actually, that it's not so much, when people are applying, it's not so much about what they've done that's part of the selection criteria, but I know a couple of people applied and weren't accepted because it really looked like it was someone else had put them forward for something to do, rather than any kind of internal motivation to develop their leadership skills. And I think as long as we are convinced that folk really want to do the course, that they're interested in developing their potential, then that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Andy, question at the back.
Thanks very much. I think all these initiatives are truly wonderful. They're absolutely fantastic. I think it sounds like the Scottish Commission for Learning Disability should be congratulated for funding these programmes as well. I was really taken with the leadership programme, and I wondered whether it is just unique to Scotland or whether it's indeed in other areas throughout Europe, and if not, we should really consider doing so. So do you know at all whether it's elsewhere, or people have contacted you to say, look, we're thinking of setting it up where we are?
I had a contact from a charitable organisation in England, but I wasn't quite sure on what basis I think they were wanting to steal the family silver, actually. Because they were how much does this course cost, like to put it on? So my father, who's an accountant, wouldn't agree with this, but I rounded up. And because in actual fact it's really inexpensive. But I didn't want them to think it was an easy thing to do just based on monetary. It's not an easy thing to do. You have to get the right people, as Andy was saying, the right participants, the right mix of participants on the course, and you need to get the right presenters as well, and you need to listen, always listen, or watch. And that's the key to the success. And that's what's really, sparked everyone, all the 38 graduates on the previous courses. And as Cameron said, there's another course starting on the 1st of February. So we're looking for more participants, and we're also looking for sponsors as well. So there'll be more on social media about all of that. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I don't know of anything else in Europe. I mean, I'll talk to anyone.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left for more questions if you needed.
It was really interesting and inspiring to hear you. And you told, of course, that you had a paid job. And for you, it's naturally that you have a paid job. But I think for many potential job places, it's not natural. So can you tell more about the campaign and about the offensive to create change in that field?
I think that's one for you.
Yeah. In that field, it's really just to give the person, with the learning disability, an opportunity to be given that opportunity to be paid and have something going into their pocket, really, instead of a voucher, because at the end of the day, we're all still human. We're all still human at the end of the day. But we've all we've only got our disability, but there's other things, within our disability that we can do, and SELD of just, they just look at me as a person that can come in and offer my skills, and I obviously want to benefit my own skills again, and it's a way of, just saying that, instead of just getting a voucher at the end of the day, they're actually getting something, into their own pocket, and it's, and once it's in your own pocket, you can do whatever you want with it. With a voucher or something, you're tied to the one. You're tied to the one shop, and SALD of taking that barrier away.
Any further questions? I'll go to Emma, and then we'll go to the one at the back. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just interested on this subject of being able to pay a salary, because a lot of organisations find it, don't quite know what to do, and they're worried about people, the fear you mentioned of losing benefits and things like that. So I'd be interested from Cameron or Andy just how SALD have gone about that, and made sure that people, financially, that people know how best to sort of work through all this.
I think Andy's probably better suited than me to answer that question. Yep.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's just something that we really wanted to commit to doing in this for this piece of work, because as Sandy said, people are offering skills that are worth something, and it would have been exploitative not to pay people for the work that they're doing. But it wasn't easy. It's not straightforward. There are barriers. There are like legal barriers and barriers to do with the rules around receiving benefits. One of the things that we did was every rapporteur got a benefits check to make sure that they wouldn't be worse off, wouldn't be financially penalised, because it's not full-time work. We didn't make that clear, Sandy, did we? But it's part-time work, and that can be a little bit contentious. So we did all that background stuff, and I would recommend to other people, other organisations, because loads of people these days want to benefit from the lived experience of people with learning disabilities, and very few organisations will pay them for that expertise. So really urge organisations to think how they could do that.
There's one at the back again. Yep, and then we've got this one here. We've got time for two more minutes, a couple more minutes here.
Thanks for that, Sandy. I just had a question about these lived experience boards you mentioned, and the way that people with lived experience are feeding into and supporting the Scottish Government in setting up the Human Rights Bill, if I've understood that correctly.
Yes.
I just wondered how those conversations went and what the Scottish Government did with what people with lived experience told them.
Well, we kind of grilled the person that came from the Scottish Government, basically.
Glad to hear it.
And we definitely made them think, and obviously they made us think as well, because it's about everyone coming together and being inclusive and whatnot, and it's not about the Scottish Government telling us, right, that jargon's got to stay in that policy or whatever. It gave us an opportunity to say, that word needs to come out there. Can we put that word in there? So it's everybody about being inclusive and just being given an opportunity for change. Because probably that policies and that have probably been like that for years, really, and everything's probably just been a tick box for years and years. But for things to happen, we all need to work together now.
Great. And we've got time for one last question. This will be the last question, unfortunately.
Okay, so quick comment followed by a question about the benefits trap of paying people who are receiving a benefit. I think it's a problem in every country. Here in Ireland, my business partner here does a lot of bits and pieces research-wise, and in other ways getting paid little pieces. But we set up a social enterprise, and because you don't receive money directly in most cases, but we just, whatever money's coming in comes into the company, and then Fionn can be paid a salary out of that, so it's steady, or you can just take the money back in terms of like reimbursing you for travel and things like that. So the question is, has anybody in your organization, or have you, Sandy, considered setting up a company, like as a freelance consultant, that sort of thing?
No. 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 No.
Simple.
I mean, I just don't have the. Well, I've obviously got the. I think I would have the capabilities to do it, but I just don't think I would have the time to do it. And there's a lot more legal things to go into, setting up your own business. And the thing is, if you set up your own business as well, you're kind of working on your own. I like to be part of a team, and working with people. I know I could get people working for me, but that's just too much technical terms for me. That. No problem.
Great, thank you so much, everyone. That's all we've got time for today, but I've got one last slide I want to show you, and this is my slide here. It just looks like a random picture, but this is not. This is a mural that Projectability in Glasgow commissioned last year, and for me, this sums up leadership. Don't know why it sums up leadership, and I was going through all the murals, and this was the best one. I think it summed up leadership for me. I think it's because it's high five, you can do this as well. One last thing, with a request, really, at SLD we like to evaluate things. So on the tables, I've got a couple more printed. I didn't gauge how many people were coming to this session today. Is a workshop evaluation form that we would like you to fill out on how you're going to put the learning that you've learned today into practice. On the back of the evaluation form, it's a two-sided evaluation form, there is contact details as we'd like to contact you in 6 months' time for follow-up evaluation as well.
Cameron, are they just evaluating me, or are they evaluating both?
Both.
Come on.
Both.
Oh,
Both, Sandy. Couple of final things to say. Don't forget to come and speak to us at the stands. We ran out of time for questions today, but we'll be available for the rest of the conference. And just to say a big thank you to Elaine, Sandy, and Andy, who's just walked out the door. Who's coming back round this way? Yep. Thank you, Andy.
I'm not coming for a bow. I just came for an evaluation form. I think that table at the back didn't get any.
Okay. Let me finish with my marks and then I'll get them. It's been a pleasure to take this workshop. Bit funny, bit fun, bit chilled as well. As soon as you do that, you're free to go get coffee because it's closing. And thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, Catherine asked me to read her notes. Is it working? Yeah. Good people. Good people. Could you guys please stop off at the registration desk to sign up for your workshop breakout session for tomorrow from 10:30 to 12 midday. Thank you for your help. And we need... not we, need to know numbers for rooms. So they collect who is signing in for the breakout session and the workshop, so they know the numbers and they can have the rooms set up. Yes? Thank you. on behalf of Catherine.